So now I'm gonna tell you a story of our brewery. When I was like 26 years old, I was working in my parents' company. They had a company which were selling some electronics for cable TV stations and telecommunications. So as far as this was pretty steady job for me, I kind of didn't really found it interesting.
Prva stvar, kar je bila, več ni bil zadovoljen v službi, v kateri je delal, ker ga ni osrečevala in tako naprej.
In Brussels, we came to a bar. We ordered 2 beers. I didn't really understand what kind of beer I'm ordering, and it was so tasty and flavorful. Actually, first sip was kind of hard for me, but the second half of the glass was like, that's really good. And I googled how beer is made, pressed enter, and then, the whole universe opened for me. In a few days, I already ordered my malt meal and first 2 books from USA. In that first day or first few days, I want to be a brewer.
In od takrat naprej, ko je prišel s to idejo, ni bilo niti ene sekunde, ne spomnim se, če je bila kakšna sekunda, da bi kadarkoli podvojil v to ali pa razmišljal o tem, če bi ali ne bi.
I was already writing my business plan for having a brewery. To show it to my parents, it was like a more secret mission in the beginning, because I didn't want them, this was also like a crazy times. It was like something completely new in the family that someone would like to make beer. No one was really like that much into what beer is. I asked my parents to come to my flat, sat them down, they didn't really know what happened. And then I showed them that I have in my living room, I built a small kind of homebrew kit from second-hand shops, used kegs, some pots from the professional kitchenware and so on. So they were like really surprised on the first place.
In mi je povedal zgodbo, da so starši verjetno mislili, da se bo poročil ali pa da bo postal ata. In ko mi je povedal za pivovarno in mi je odprl tisto dnevno sobo skrivno.
I then moved this homebrew kit to my parents' house, into garage, and then there I started to brew. I was really brewing a lot. I was trying to learn a lot. My parents were super supportive. From first business plan, the amount of money I needed, and then what I needed, it was way more later, but still they were standing with me and helping me to make a brewery. In 2010, I already had all the documents for the brewery in Slovenia, actually, but there was a kind of new weird law for using water for beverages. To get document for that was very time consuming. It would take maybe some years to get it. When I started to get really weird answers, I said, okay, I cannot do it here in Slovenia, but the world is open. I don't see borders, and I just went over to Austria. And then in 2012, in June, end of the June, we already had first batches of the beer brewing on our equipment here. And beer was not that great on the beginning, so recipes from home brewing to bigger machine, you cannot just multiply all the ingredients and there you have it. So there was a lot of trial and error, there was a lot of learning how to work actually with this machine. I knew that we have to have water treatment, which would make water softer. Here is pretty hard water, and it was not really suitable for pale beer. But in the meanwhile, I also tried then to make smoked porter and oatmeal stout. And these were 2 beers that we filled. So end of the year 2012, we already had some beer in kegs. We connected it in one pub in Ljubljana that I managed to convince to take the beer. And then in the summer we had no sales. But I knew that when we start with bottles, it will be easier. And the whole idea and the whole starts of the brewery starts with bottles, kind of, for me, because I knew that I cannot fight for taps in the bars. So it was hard time with start, but then in March, I think, we released our pale ale also in bottles. And then everything started to run. In that year, the same year, we also released our IPA, Krama.
And I think it was 2014 or 15. I had a Krama in my hand the first time. And I saw the bottle with the illustration on it. I was absolutely fascinated, and then I thought to myself, okay, if it's inside, same cool as the illustration also, then everything is cool, and it was like this. It was fascinating, and so that was the first time I met Vasja.
The real breakthrough came for export markets in 2014, when we got results that we were third best new brewery on the world. I didn't know about that because I was never really thinking that there are internet sites with ratings, and I first thought maybe it's kind of scam or something. And then we started to get emails from all over the Europe. But at the same time, the story of me moving the whole project to Austria was really interesting. There was one journalist that contacted me, and this story he then published in a newspaper, more kind of local newspaper. And then other journalists figured it's kind of interesting story. I was on TV, on biggest commercial TV, on national TV, in newspapers all over the place. So even now, if we go sometimes out selling our beer on some festivals in Slovenia, there would still be some people. Are you that brewery that moved to Austria? Is that this story? It's like 10 years later, it's still the story, still alive. So this was actually a big promotion, just for free. But that helped us a lot. But I always say, hey, if the beer wouldn't be good, no one would drink us because our beer, just because we moved to Austria. We were growing really fast. I wasn't really prepared for the growth that we have. We had problems for about 2 years. We didn't have enough beer. I could not afford some workers additional. I tried to work as hard as possible. So it was for me sometimes, really 26, 28 hour work. And then just some sleep for a few hours, going back. And I tried to do that as long as I could. And then I just realized, hey, I just cannot do that anymore. This was really hard time, but I was determined, I'm still determined. I want to make this place fly because my parents helped me. I am really sorry for everybody that were really angry on us because we cannot deliver the beer, but we just didn't have it, and I didn't want to compromise on the quality of the beer.
For me, there are 2 points which also fits here in that brewery. The first point is drinkability. Yeah? No matter what beer style you have, it's the drinkability which is the most important thing on it. And the second thing is the passion to the beer. Drinkability is number one. The drinkability of industrial beer is on a high level, absolutely. There are a lot of craft breweries which are doing a lot of different styles. What's sad but true is that sometimes you have 2 beers and then you said, okay, hey, it's enough, give me another one or something like that.
And I think one of the reasons why we are here and why we are pretty successful and known in this part of the world is, we just keep this constant evolving and trying to be better and better and better, and not compromising on the quality for the sake of higher capacities or to have a bigger financial advantage or something. I still think the biggest point in brewing craft beer is the craft and the quality that should be there. If you are asking for a premium price for the product, it have to be a great product.
The quality was never a question in this brewery, not in a single thing, so not in the ingredients and not in the equipment. The beer was always at the first place. This is one of the things that I really like in Bevog. He's precise in that. He wants, so first we will do good beer, then we will discuss about expenses.
We knew each other I think from early beginning of Bevog, we start a conversation. It was basically no pressure, not from my side, not from his side, but just try to figure out in which brews he sees that our hops might be interesting for him.
And the passion is also, if you start like Vasja as an autodidact guy, not educated in brewery business or something, I said, okay, hey, I'm doing now brewery. And in Bevog you see they are absolutely focused on quality things. I don't know much brewery in that size doing so much researching on taking care about that quality of the beer like they do here. That's the big difference to others.
Actually, brewing beer became a way of life to me because Vasja showed me this aspect, and you actually then, it's so addictive that it becomes your life. Yeah, and in everyday life you're thinking about this, how will you put this in, because it's a really precise work. You cannot repair mistakes after one beer is spoiled, it's spoiled. You cannot do nothing, actually. You just have to put it to the drain. And this is awful, and it's very expensive, so you have to really be careful what you're doing. I think that's the beauty of this work, yeah. So you have to be really careful, precise.
Jaz ponovadi tako prijem zjutraj, si naredim, zdaj delam po tri vzorce, enkrat, dvakrat na teren. Sterilno, se pravi, vzorce vzamem, kot da bi šlo za življenje, se pravi, da ne bi okužil, ne, niti kapljice, nič. Pol dan, če muževanje, recimo, kaki vzorec, odvisno, če mi je bilo sumljivega, potem sterilno prefiltriran, skoncentriran, pa delam analize. Pač vzamem vzorec, pripravim za analizo, testiram, pa pogledam.
If you are a craft brewery and if you are promoting that you are craft, then I think it have to be craft. You have to be fair to the customer. It is way harder to make a very balanced beer and the beer that shows off all the components than to have beer with a lot of, I don't know, hops, a lot of malt, a lot of bigger. Sometimes bigger is better, but many times it would just be like a mess. Okay, that's for me. Someone likes the really crazy stuff. That's not me, that's not my style, and that's who we are. And that's the same goes for then why I wanna just use the real fruit, because I think that's the real deal. That's what you wanna use. If you're kinda really crafty and you wanna say and stand behind your words that you're a crafty brewery or craft brewery, you don't fake the stuff.
We learned that the most important step in the brewing process is, let's say, fermentation. They're all important, but let's say if you have a really good yeasts, you are on a really good way to show people what you really like, what you really want to show them with your beer. More and more people like that, and that's the right way. That's the way that you can expect the consumers to come back.
Most of the time the beer would be more expensive because it's more expensive to make. And then the second thing is, if the beer has a hype, it can be sold for a higher price. It is as with anything on this planet. Like our Lola, it's a nice summer beer, it's 3.5% alcohol beer. This beer is actually pretty expensive to make, because we are using raspberry puree that is maybe the best in the world. It cannot be cheap, and then we use a lot if we take into account how many grams per liter we go. We keep the price of Lola, for instance, quite low for what it is, because I felt like, if we go too high, it will be already too luxurious beer. I don't want that. I want that people drink that great beer. Now in summer, we load the truck only if there is cold transport. The main reason is not because I am like kind of weird guy that wants that, but we do so much work here and we try to be so precise on how to package the beer, how to brew it, how to make it fresh. We store it cool on cold place, and then it goes on a truck, and then the truck can be stuck on a road for 2 or 3 days on a hot sun in the middle of the summer. It can be, I don't know, I guess even more than 50 degrees on the truck. So I don't want to cook the beer. I don't want that people that are from other countries take our beer and say, I don't like it. It's not the same beer as has left the building if we have it on these hot trucks. I think I have a little bit of a tendency to go into more classical approach or to think in a classical brewer's way, but I want to really explore, and my style, kind of what I want to do always is to have a really nice balanced beer, that all the ingredients are in balance, and I want to still kind of stick to the style. So if I say this is a pale ale, it's still a pale ale. It will be hoppier, it will be rich in flavor and everything, but it's not gonna be already an IPA. Because if I order a pale ale, I want a pale ale with a reason. If otherwise I would just order IPA, for instance. And I always want that beer is drinkable. I want to drink more than one beer, and I don't really like really heavy beers. That said, you can have a heavy beer but still have all these drinkability, or even if it's 12%, it still you can drink it, more than 1 deciliter. Less is more. I was in a band and I tried to play all sorts of things, and I know that many times it was just a mess. And now that I'm also a little bit older and a little bit wiser, I can say, hey, things just have to work. It has to have a vibe, it has to have a rhythm, it has to have the balance, and this balance and harmony between all the components, it's, I think, the most important part of the brewing, of winemaking, of cooking, of life itself.
On si mora vse predstavljati vizualno. Spomnim se, ko si je sestavljal pivovarno, moral si je narisati vse mizice, stolčke in tako, da jih je predstavljal. Tako kot on, zgodbo ima za tem, vedno ima zgodbo, in to se mi zdi zelo, zelo fino.
And when I started, I knew I want to have like a completely new world, or create a new world in a beer. I describe a beer to artist, and then he makes a drawing out of it or some sketches and said, hey, this is the one I like, and then he finished the whole picture. And then I brought that picture to one design company who then make the whole label.
Za Vasjo pa rišem ilustracije za ta serijo Extinction is Forever zdaj, prej pa je bila Who Cares linija.
I don't really see any problem with changing the art, or because the world is changing, everything is changing. I am growing, craft beer is growing and changing. So in the world of change, everything can be changed, I think.
Vasja has the biggest part of art here because he has the idea. Let's say on us is how to do that. What are the critical points of the process there? So we have to be careful on each step. So each step needs monitoring. So this monitoring is like really science.
Se učimo na napakah, tudi. Ne moreš vedeti vsega. Celo pri nas, če si zamisliš, da ne vem koliko novih piv letno naredimo, bi lahko rekel sezonskih, priložnostnih piv, ne vem, veš. Enega sodelavca, vsaj, kar se mene tiče, kako jaz vidim sodelavce, da si ne bi želel, da bi bil produkt na koncu najbolj kvalitetnejši, kar se da.
Vasja has a clear view of his recipes or his beers, how they should taste or be produced, and if there's something wrong, he will take it into the drain. He don't care. That means his quality perspective is much higher. He's also, how should I say, free from some educated things you learn. Yeah? And for example, if you're studying brewery in Europe, it's nearly that you go to work 3 years. After that, you have 2 years education for the master, so that you minimum 5 years in brewery business. In classical breweries in Germany or in Austria, which has sizes, I don't know, from 30,000 hectoliters a year to 1 million, yeah, that they work. So you have the processes, you learn it, but I'm pretty sure there's not much space to be creative, yeah, and I'm pretty sure he comes from a different direction. He said, okay, I'm the creative guy, let's go for it. What is technically needed? And it's also good because he has a great understanding for the technique in brewery equipment and also for the brewing process and so.
I think it's like with anything, from sport to brewing, to cooking, to making music or being good in whatever the thing. You just have to have it, you know. It's like you need a little bit of that luck that you get from birth for something. You just got to realize what is it, you know. And I think then you have to learn in any case, because you cannot just, you know, it just happens to you. You learn, but you can be really, it can really help if you have already a good base from where you can start and where you can source. At the end of the day, the nose and your mouth is then just deciding whatever you prefer and what to do. So this empirical part is very, very important. I think we have a good connection to many different subculture situations. We are not that much in a pop culture. We try to be more like alternative scene. You know, for a brewer like me, it's very important that I go out and explore and see the world and inspiration in something completely different than beer.
Na začetku so sicer dvomili ljudje, seveda, kolegi in tako naprej, pa zakaj še eno pivo, ker, ne, zakaj rabijo, ker pač kao imamo zadosti piv, ne.
It's a way of life and also way of thinking. What I like the most is looking the things grow, you know. It's like your baby, you know, when each year it goes from ground and up to the top of to the top wire, and you're just like in each phase you're looking at it and try to do all the best, you know, to grow perfectly. It's kind of, you know, growth on the field and also some inner growth, you know, finding your peace. So this is what I like the most.
The purpose of beer is to I mean, I just like it as a flavor. But then it's also this kind of social part when you just hang out, just sit, have a beer, 2 or even more for sure. Something that you really like to do, something that you really like to share, something that you really like to talk about, to meet you know, new people, to hang out with co-workers. It's a cool thing. I just like it.
Beer is bringing together. That's the main meaning of beer. Beer brings us all together. That's why we are here. It's absolutely clear in the brewery industry, in between brewers, you help each other.
Craft brewers are really interested to see the farms, to see where their raw ingredients came from, how it's done, how we do it, we make a good connections, develop not only the business but also the friendships between brewers. So, which is really cool for me that we share the same passion, the same values. So it's a fun work, you know.
And the fact is as well that there are some beers that I absolutely loved that we released, but feedback from the market was like, it's a very good beer, but it's not my favorite style, for instance. And yeah, I'm a little bit sad for some beers, but yeah, it's the way it is. You're still working in an environment, and you cannot just make beer that you want to drink. End of the day, you have to sell it, you have to pay all the bills, you have to pay all the employees and so on. So you are a little bit limited, but still, yeah, you better have a good imagination.
Oh, if I could only see, if I could only reach.
When we started with our brewery, I knew that we need bottles. But I knew that we need bottles because we cannot compete with big players to get a tap in the bar. But I already had in the beginning wish to go into cans. I think it's just another packaging that is really cool and practical. It weighs less and it's easier to transport, it's easier to take with. It is environmentally friendlier. It blocks the sunlight completely. I said, we cut today, there is no more bottles. Now everything, just some dark, very special beer remains in bottles, everything else is in can. And it wasn't that great of success with the cans on the beginning. We got phone calls, are you mad? Are you crazy? Why cans? Have you become big industrial shit brewery? This beer tastes really awful in the can, and many different things we heard. But I said, hey, okay, just some had that opinion, but there were some that said, hey, it's really cool. It's handy, and then we started to get, again, the traction. 2016 is 6 years ago. But, yeah, the can was such a novelty. But now, I think craft beer in can is something normal. And I'm happy that we made that step. It was a dangerous one, but hey, what is if we don't risk? So then in 2015, we started to dig already for the new expansion warehouse and new filling area, new fermentation cellar. Craft brewing, and especially brewer like ours, it's very investment intensive. At this point, I just want to be my own master, so with no investors or something like that. And yeah, this is not easy.
Ja, ogromno denarja se je vložilo, pač to je kar draga zadeva, ne. Ampak je pa to dejansko, če reči, za craft industrijo je to pravi game changer, ker to je pač ni to več varjenje v garaži, ne. Jaz si recimo ne predstavljam, da bi doma varil pivo, ker zdaj glede na to, kaj sem se tu naučil, dejansko ne bi bil sposoben narediti doma. Pa ne vem, pač ni več zanimivo, ker vidiš, ja, zdaj pa ne vem, kisika metko, prepihavan tank, ja, kaj pa zdaj pa manj lagera bi rad delo, pa zdaj ne vem, če ga že ne dam hladiti, zdaj pa, ne vem, tudi za ist management, mislim, urabim opremo, če hočem propagirati kvas, recimo.
Yeah, it's getting more professional, absolutely. And the focus is now on a size like this. You have to be focused on that you bring every time the same quality out. This is also a big point, yeah. You have one beer, which your fans and your customers love, and it has to taste every time the same. And therefore they did a lot to bring out that quality on the point.
I just knew I didn't even want to make any calculation at that point. I just know I can maybe charge so much for a beer that maybe the bar will still buy it. I cannot really make a calculation of how much cost I have and what is the interest or what is the monthly payment for the bank, whatever. I cannot calculate that. I just knew I just have to go and swim, bring craft beer to the market. And, you know, we were one of the first. And because I want to be real, I don't want to say to people some things like, hey, this is really great, and I'm not really sure if it's great or not. Well, very frankly, sometimes I hate my job. Even though you love your job, there are things which are really problem, and that is the business part. I hate to be in the office. I really don't like to be there. I am really happy when I can be downstairs in the production, when I have some time to help maybe repair something, you know, to just go out of the routine and taking care where's the money, where is this rule, and we have to fulfill some regulations because someone from government wants something. This part I don't like. I started to have a brewery, or I wanted a brewery, because it felt like really cool thing, really cool job to do, to be relaxed, not because you're drunk all the time, because you can be so creative. You have just kind of 4 basic ingredients and you can have so many different flavors. And then you can add maybe some more ingredients, then you have crazy new combinations of flavors. So it's mixed feelings. But yeah, I absolutely love the heart of this business. That this is still like my main thing, and that's why I wanna continue with it. I was trying to work really, really hard, but I needed a team to help me out and just to, put everything together. I tried to be as fair as possible to the team, but yeah, it's a pretty precise work here. We can have fun, but we are also serious about our product. And I think the team understands that part. For me, that's important. If you work somewhere and you like it to work there, that's cool for everyone. I just cannot be like that sort of boss that say, hey, this, and I just go somewhere. I always want to find a solution together with the team. They can also get free time, and they can also, have like a really relaxed working space. When we are working hard, it's working hard. When it's more relaxed, it's more relaxed. I want them to have enough free time, and I want them to have a fair monthly payment.
This was like a dream to me. If he could, if he could take me with on this journey. I came here. I presented myself. Yeah, it was like love at first sight, I think. That's where all began.
Sem že takrat delal v Radenskih Goricah 17 let. Rekel, glej, jaz ti ne morem nič obećati, ampak kako pa ti veš, kako bo pa v Radenskih Goricah čez par let, ne? Mi je rekel, ne? Kdo pa ti tam garantira, ne? Obstoj, ne? Veš, vse tak, ne? In tako sem ga pogledal, sem rekel, pa stari, imaš prav, ne? Mislim, se pa ni garancije, ne? No in te pa je kar tisto, veš. Glej, treba, da ja. Niti približno mi ni žal, no.
Ful se razumemo, dejansko smo prijatelji, ne? Zanimivo, ne? Čez leti postali prijatelji. Se pač privat se družimo, ne? Pač vsaki za vsakim stoji, ne? Ni zdaj probleme. Stari, ti da se, glej, jaz imam, ne vem, to doma, se ti da ostati 2 uri. Se da ful fest meni, isto z Vasjo, ne? Zdaj nič ne komplicira, ne vem. Če robi, ne vem, dan fraj ali pa.
First, there were like 3 of us here, me, Mihaela, and Vasja, of course. When we brewed some beers, there was like People immediately saw that the beer is really good, and there was more and more work. And then we needed some people. We couldn't do it by ourselves anymore. Then came, I think, Simon, and then Leon and Uroš and Bojan. We got good chemistry actually from the beginning. I think that brought us even to a better way, how to solve the problems. If the problem was, we could solve it immediately. We found the ways together, and we actually got really, really good friends. So it's like a second family here to me.
Don't bring it on. He is crazy. I'm happy that guys like Vasja is doing this thing, because we need crazy guys in beer business. Yeah. Because if you see the past from the 70s to the 80s, in Austria and Germany, all the small breweries were killed or sold or whatever to the big ones, and now in the last years it's coming that the beer is not only a mass product. Beer is a passion, it's a lifestyle. He's well known in the scene, not only in Austria, not only in this area. If you go to Germany or to Switzerland or to Italy, everybody knows his beer. Yeah, he's well known for his precise, clear and quality beers. Yeah.
We did some collaborations with some other brewers. I like the idea, and it's always fun. It's never too stressy. It is everybody brings some ideas, you make a recipe together, you share some time together, maybe share also some knowledge of how someone is brewing, or what kind of technique you have, I don't know, for dry hopping or barrel aging or different kind of things. So it's always fun, and it can be also helpful for both breweries, or if there are more. And it is also, I think, cool that we show that in the same business we can share kind of market, that we can kind of collaborate, but not to be too hard on competitive side. So, I'm very focused to be honest to the nature and to be honest to what we are doing. For instance, I was then thinking how to make our boxes so we don't have to use tape. So they are just foldable, and then I was searching for different kinds, and then we developed one box. For eShop, we use all the compostable and recyclable materials, and also tape is just from paper. So these are really small. We try to use as little as possible water, we try to use as little as possible cleaning agents. But to have a bigger impact, we just need more of a bigger investment. We are actually planning on that. This would then mean completely CO2 neutral brewery. Then we would get rid of gas, and we would try to be really, in a good way, self-sufficient. And this is my big wish, and when I make that, I think I did what I wanted to do. So, really cool green brewery with cool green beer and happy employees. Because we would then also, some work would be done a little bit easier. One day I was driving, we had another beer already, I think brewing or already in fermenter. We needed a label, and I didn't know what label, and then I was just like, what if we take animals that are close to extinction, and then we put them on the label. And then the first was a frog, and then many other animals now. We are gathering some money for one local environmental club, and then we donate that money to them. So this is kind of local idea of giving back to the community, and to help directly to the community where we are in. in Radkersburg. It's a cool, nice little town. It's I always say it's in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of cornfield, is our brewery. But you know, we cannot try to make it in the middle of somewhere. When I will feel that we are big enough, then we will just, I think, stop growing. And because if you want to grow, you need new markets, you need to work harder. The beer is not really selling just as it is. I mean, that's not enough anymore. The competition is here, and you have to work harder. But I want to work, less. I mean, less. To have bigger quality of life for me and for my coworkers.
I was down, I was lost, I was trying to forget.
I will never make a hard seltzer.
Jaz mislim, da imam alergijo na hmelči, ne morem vohati več nič, zaprt nos.
He's a crazy motherfucker. Don't bring it into the movie. Yeah?
Hey, there are sometimes hard times, especially when we had this COVID and all this shit, and when in the office is real shit, and when on the situation on the bank account is really shit, then it's like, fuck, why I'm doing that? Am I capable? Can I do it? How we will pull it out now? But then somehow you just keep swimming.
I got no